his first overseas visit since returning to the White House, US President Donald Trump is on a whirlwind three-nation tour of the Gulf. He's touched down in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. The visit is already sending seismic ripples through the geopolitics of the Middle East. Dubbed the Gulf Reset, the three-day trip is being marked by lavish state receptions, landmark arms deals, and controversial diplomatic engagements. There is now an unmistakable shift in America's posture towards the Middle East. From unveiling a $140 billion weapons deal to endorsing a civil nuclear program for Saudi Arabia and accepting a luxury jet from Qatar, Trump's transactional diplomacy is in full swing. But the deeper tremors come from his unprecedented meeting with Syria's new leader, Ahmad al-Sharaa. He's a former jihadist who's turned national leader. And missing in all of Trump's whistle-stop Gulf tour was America's most stalwart ally in the region, Israel. In Riyadh, Trump unveiled the largest arms agreement in US history, a $142 billion weapons package which has fighter jets, missile defense systems, unmanned drones, and cybersecurity technology. Saudi officials hailed it as a partnership of protection, but the scale of the deal has raised eyebrows. Also grabbing headlines in Washington was the green lighting of a civil nuclear cooperation agreement with Saudi Arabia. Now, though it's been framed as a civilian program, it comes with clear geopolitical undertones. While Saudi Arabia has long desired nuclear energy, it has also made little secret of its intent to match Iran and its nuclear trajectory. Trump gave his nod to this deal, and this may be aimed at giving the Saudis enough leverage to stay in the diplomatic lane, while at the same time reminding Tehran about America's backing for Riyadh. He also prodded Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords, which would normalize ties with Israel, but this would be at their own time. Trump realizes the Saudis would be loath joining hands with Israel at a time when Israel is accused of mass genocide in Gaza. Meanwhile, in Doha, Trump accepted, quite controversially, a $250 million luxury Boeing 747 jet from the Qatari government. He had painted this as a gift to the American people. He's going to be using this as a donation to the Trump Presidential Library, which he will use post-demitting office in 2029. Critics at home are already questioning the ethics of such an offering, saying it violates multiple rules. Perhaps the most astonishing development of the Middle East tour came in Riyadh, where Trump met with Syrian President Ahmad al-Sharaa. It is the first such meeting between American and Syrian heads of state in 25 years. Al-Sharaa is a former commander of an al-Qaeda offshoot. He's emerged as Syria's new strongman after the fall of the Bashar al-Assad regime late last year. Al-Sharaa's rise from insurgency to the head of state has been nothing short of remarkable. For much of the 2010s, Al-Sharaa was leading fighters who actively targeted American and allied forces in Syria and in Iraq. And yet, Trump posed for photographs with Al-Sharaa, calling him a man who knows how to fight terror because he's lived through terror. American officials are already floating the idea of strategic pragmatism, arguing that Al-Sharaa, although he's a former enemy, now represents a bulwark against Iranian expansionism and also fighting the remnants of ISIS in the region. And all of this is taking place even as Washington continues direct and indirect talks with Tehran over reining in its nuclear ambitions. There have been 4 rounds of talks that have been brokered by Oman and that have happened in the Omani capital, Muscat. While the details of what exactly has been achieved in these talks still remain sketchy, American government sources have been saying that the US is offering gradual sanctions relief to Iran in exchange for verifiable caps on uranium enrichment. Trump, who famously withdrew from the Obama-era JCPOA, which was a 6-nation deal along with Iran, he pulled out of that deal in his first term, but now he appears to be pursuing a fresh version of that same deal. but this time on Trump's terms.
Under the Trump administration, we're liberating...
This approach places Saudi Arabia, a longtime Iran hawk, in a bit of a delicate position. But over the last couple of years, in an effort mediated by the Chinese, there is a degree of normalcy between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Trump, who's wanting to undercut the Chinese and their growing role in the Middle East, has now done parallel engagements with these two sworn Gulf enemies. Noticeably absent from Trump's itinerary is Israel. It is a glaring omission given the long-standing US-Israel alliance and also at a time when there is growing turmoil in the region because of Israel's war in Gaza. Also, relations between Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu seem to have cooled off a bit in recent months, particularly over the Gaza war. The mounting civilian toll in Gaza, which has now crossed 50,000, is drawing global condemnation. Trump has publicly supported Israel's right to defend itself, but there is a limit to which he can overlook the mass atrocities that are happening in Gaza. There is also growing speculation that the Trump White House now sees Netanyahu as the obstacle to a broader regional realignment. By excluding Israel from his Gulf tour, Trump may be signaling that Washington's center of gravity in the Middle East is shifting. It's moving away from Tel Aviv to Riyadh. Officials within the Israeli government have expressed quiet concern that America may be moving towards a more balanced, or as they say, a neutral position in the Sunni versus Shia standoff, one that could dilute Israel's leverage. These developments point to a broader recalibration in America's Middle East strategy. For years, American foreign policy was framed around very clear lines: Israel against the Arab world, Saudi Arabia against Iran, and Syria was treated as a pariah state. Trump is now blurring those lines. He's pushing an agenda that prioritizes transactional diplomacy over traditional alliances. He values flexibility over ideology. The big question is, will this new approach hold?